You often hear people talk about doing one thing well, which is very important, but also, since I'm developing numerous products constantly over time, I've found that the good thing for me is to do one thing at a time, as beautiful as possible. I wouldn't have started making stuff in steel if it weren't for my granddad working with me in that steel industry, so it's all kind of all, it's like the comparing real life and television, it's like what informs the other, I suppose. I remember me and an illustrator friend, Steve Millington, we had an idea for something to be made in steel, like a stencil, kind of cut out ornament thing that we were going to do under Steve's brand, Dry British, and so we went down to speak to Dave about the possibility of doing something. And I can't remember whether we had a few ideas basically, like going, oh, you could do this in steel, oh, you could do that in steel. And then Steve went, oh, what about a chip fork? And we all just kind of looked at each other and we were like, oh yeah, that'd be great, like the traditional shape. So kind of went away, I got one of the chip forks, drew around it, and then I was just like looking at the form of it. I know it sounds a bit daft, obviously it's just a wooden chip fork, but I was thinking, we need to add something to it. And then I kept redrawing it, and then we're like, oh, I bet we could just sneak like a bottle opener onto the end of that, and then it all just tied in a nice little, you've got a bottle of beer, you could just pop that open and then you've got your chips. We do some stuff in Tokyo, that's where his flagship store is, and the all made in England, made in Sheffield, like name, I suppose, it seems to translate well. If you get a penknife set, and it's got made in Sheffield on blade, then you'll probably hold that knife in more high regard than say you would that's like, say, got, you know, made in China or made in Finland. So it definitely has. I think it translates better internationally than it does in the UK. I was the first to go to university. My brother went to university as well, but I'm a few years older than him, but I was the first person to go to university and like chance my hand at something creative. I think that kind of took both my parents a bit by surprise when I said I wanted to like study art, and I would always taking photographs and stuff. Not to badmouth my mum or anything, but when I said like I've designed these shirts and I'm gonna go and get them made and it's gonna cost this amount of money, she kind of said, oh, what are you doing? Like, you're daft. You know, she didn't have much belief, I don't think. Probably through fear. You know, I don't hold it against her or out, but now she's first person to like pick phone up and congratulate me, and obviously having a Facebook page for Mamnick's a funny one because my mum always like writes comments on there that are very like personal and direct, and I'm just like thinking, oh, I wonder if like the head of Nike, whether their parents leave comments on their product photos. It's quite funny. Yeah, there's definitely a compromise that most people have to try and find in their life with the work-life balance, and the great thing about working for yourself and living in Sheffield and doing what I'm doing is that you can kind of pick and choose, and that's a feeling that money can't really buy.